I didn't believe in haunted colleges. Not until I found a study room that didn't exist. The first time I saw it, I thought I was just tired. Finals week at Westbridge University does that to you. It was 2:17 a.m. I remember the exact time because the hallway clock had stopped ticking. The second hand was just shaking. The third floor of Monroe Hall is supposed to have 6 study rooms. I had used all of them before. But that night, at the very end of the hallway past room 306, there was another door, room 307. The number looked old, like it had been there longer than the others. I figured maybe I just never walked this far down before. The hallway lights were buzzing softly. No one else was around. Perfect. Inside, it was warmer than the rest of the building. Not hot, just warmer, like someone had been in there recently. There was a single desk lamp on the table. It was already on. That should have been my first red flag. I sat down anyway. The room felt normal. Too normal. The kind of quiet where you can hear your own pulse in your ears. I started reviewing my psychology notes. 10 minutes passed, maybe 15. Then I heard a knock, not on the door, on the wall behind me. 3 slow taps. I froze. There's no room behind that wall. It's the outside of the building, 3 floors up. I told myself it was pipes. Old buildings make noises. Then it happened again. 3 taps. Pause. 2 taps. Like someone correcting themselves. I turned around. The wall was blank, solid concrete. I laughed nervously. I even said out loud, "Very funny." The lamp flickered. And that's when I noticed something weird. My notebook wasn't open to psychology anymore. It was open to a blank page. And written at the top, in handwriting that looked almost like mine, were the words, "You shouldn't be here." My stomach dropped. I hadn't written that. I know I hadn't. I grabbed my phone to take a picture. No signal. At Westbridge, there's always signal. I stood up fast, chair scraping loudly. The noise echoed more than it should have. The room suddenly felt smaller. I went to the door. It didn't open. The handle turned, but the door wouldn't move. That's when I heard breathing behind me. Not loud, just enough to know it wasn't mine. I didn't turn around. I didn't want to confirm anything. Instead, I counted. 1, 2, 3. And I pulled the door again. This time it opened easily. The hallway was bright, normal, quiet. I stepped out, heart pounding. And when I looked back, there was no room 307, just a blank stretch of wall where the door had been. I thought I imagined it, until the next morning. In my backpack, there was a sheet of paper, blank except for one sentence at the top, in my handwriting. Next time, don't answer the knocking. I've never stayed on campus past midnight again, and sometimes, when I walk past Monroe Hall, I swear I see a faint outline of a door at the end of the 3rd floor hallway. If you stay in the college library past 1 a.m., you start noticing things. You notice who always sits alone, who always leaves at the same time, and who never leaves at all. My sophomore year at Cedar Ridge College, I practically lived in the library basement. It was open 24/7 during finals. Quiet, empty, perfect. There was one other regular down there, a guy who always sat at the last desk near the emergency exit. Same hoodie, same headphones, never looked up. I assumed he was another stressed student. The weird thing, I never saw him enter or leave. One night, around 3 a.m., I dropped my pen. It rolled across the floor toward his desk. I didn't want to bother him, but I needed that pen. So I walked over. "Hey, sorry." He wasn't wearing headphones. There was nothing over his ears, but I could hear faint whispering, like multiple voices overlapping, not from him, from his laptop. The screen was black, not asleep, not off, just black, and on it, faint reflections of the room. Except something was wrong with the reflection. In the reflection, I was standing closer to him than I actually was, like 2 feet closer. I took a step back. The reflection didn't. It stayed where it was. My throat went dry. I blinked. Now it matched again. Normal distance. I looked at him. He hadn't moved. "Dude," I said. No response. I leaned slightly to see his face. His eyes were open, but they weren't focused. They were fixed on the black screen, and his lips were moving, whispering. But I couldn't hear words anymore. Just static. Suddenly, the lights above us flickered, just once. When they stabilized, he was gone. The chair was empty, still slightly spinning, like he had just stood up. I backed away slowly. I checked the emergency exit. Alarm still armed, no sign of it being opened. I asked the librarian the next day if anyone else studied in the basement at night. She looked confused. "We close the basement at midnight," she said. "No, you don't," I replied. "I'm there every night." She shook her head. "No one has access after midnight. It's been that way since last year." Last year. I searched the campus news archives later. That's when I found it. A student had been found unresponsive in the basement during finals week. He had been there alone overnight. Cause of death, unknown. The article had a photo. Same hoodie, same desk. Since that night, whenever I open a blank document on my laptop in a dark room, sometimes the screen stays black a little too long, and I swear I can see a reflection, standing closer than it should be. I should have taken the B. Instead, I volunteered. Professor Halpern's abnormal psychology class had an optional extra credit experiment. "Easy points," he said. "Just a sleep observation study in one of the campus dorm rooms scheduled for renovation. Spend one night there, record your thoughts every hour. That's it." I signed up immediately. The dorm, Lincoln Hall, had been mostly emptied. Only emergency lights were on. The air smelled stale, like dust and old carpet. Room 214 was mine. The instructions were simple. Sit in the room from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. No phone, no music. Write down any unusual experiences. At 11:43 p.m. I wrote, "Feels normal, just quiet." At 12:16 a.m. Thought I heard footsteps in hallway, probably building settling. At 1:02 a.m. Keep feeling like someone's about to knock. No one did. At 1:37 a.m., something changed. The temperature dropped, not gradually, instantly, like someone opened a freezer. I could see my breath. The emergency light outside the door flickered under the crack, and then a shadow moved across it, slowly, back and forth, like someone pacing. I walked to the door. I almost opened it, but I remembered the rules. Observe, don't interact. So I just listened, soft pacing, back and forth, for 20 minutes. Then it stopped. I waited. Silence. I sat back down. At 2:11 a.m., I wrote, "Pacing stopped. Feels worse now." Because the silence felt heavier, like something was inside the room now, not outside. At 2:26 a.m., the closet door creaked open. Just an inch. No wind. No air movement. I hadn't touched it. I stared at it for a full minute. Then I said, out loud, "This isn't funny." No response. But I heard breathing from inside the closet. Slow, controlled. Like someone pretending to sleep. I wanted to run. But I also wanted the extra credit. Stupid, right? At exactly 3 a.m., the breathing stopped, and the closet door slowly closed. on its own. At 5 a.m., I left. Professor Halpern collected my notes without reading them in front of me. He just nodded. "How was it?" he asked. "Weird," I said. "Was someone else there?" He paused, then smiled slightly. "No," he said. "Room 214 has been sealed since an incident 3 years ago." Incident? A student claimed something was in the closet with him. I felt cold again. "That room hasn't had electricity since then," he continued. "That's why we use emergency lighting." I stared at him. "There was a lamp in the closet," I said. He stopped smiling. "There's no lamp in that room. I dropped the class the next day. But sometimes, when I wake up at night, I hear slow, steady breathing. Not from the hallway, not from outside, from inside my closet, and I never check."